Hello, my name is Stacy. Welcome to the Wild Yarrow Apothecaries podcast, where we focus mainly on herbalism, but we also talk about all things holistic health. So grab a cup of herbal tea and enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to this podcast episode where we are going to be talking about 11 ways to calm an overstimulated nervous system. And I think that this is a really big problem in today's world, that there are so many people who are struggling with being overstimulated. And we're going to be talking all about what that means and all of that. And I think it's really common because there is so much going on in this world. And I'm going to be talking more about that later on in the episode too, but we haven't been taught how to handle all of the stuff that's going on in the world. So before I really get started on this episode, I do want to give my disclaimers that I am not a medical professional. This is all for educational purposes only, and I highly recommend that you do your own research. So, yeah, like I said, I think that this is a really common issue, but as I'm recording this, it's a couple weeks away from Christmas, and I think this can make people even more overstimulated. And so for me, there is a difference between anxiety and being overstimulated, but there's not much differences. There's just a little bit of a difference to where people who have anxiety, they are, fearful. They are nervous about, so much is going on. That's like the general term, but it's very physical. It can be a very, very physical thing. So I'm not trying to downplay it. I used to have severe anxiety, so I'm not trying to downplay it, but it's more like being nervous for no reason or having really illogical fears or just not being able to function because your body is just not doing what you want it to do. And then there's overstimulated. So maybe crowds are too much for you, or maybe there's too much light, or there's too much sound, or there's just too much of something that's really just getting all your nerves just like, oh my goodness. And so, how do we stop this? And then, there's too much stuff to do. Like your schedule, there's just too much to do to where you're overstimulated. So, how can we have our body to not be so overstimulated? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, what does being overstimulated feel like? It's kind of like being wired but tired, maybe snappy, teary, like you're getting really teary-eyed. You're not able to focus. You're breathing shallow. This is also an anxiety symptom too. So, like they kind of overlap with one another. Sound or light sensitivity, restless body or buzzing nerves. So these can all be overstimulated. So if you found yourself that you just have a really hard time being in crowds, or lights are too bright for you, a lot of noise is too much for you, this can mean that you are overstimulated. And I've been there. I've definitely been there. And it's really interesting because crowds used to really overstimulate me, and they don't overstimulate me anymore, but I don't like crowds. So it's like I'm not overstimulated, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan with being in crowds anymore. I like the smaller group of people. Lights can be a little bit too much, but I've been able to work on that to where lights aren't too much for me anymore. I don't like a lot of noise still, but the noise doesn't overstimulate. So it's kind of like really, how can we make it to where we're not overstimulated anymore? And so here are 11 tips. Let's get started. So the first one is nutrition. I always love to start with nutrition when I'm talking about this, but nutrition really matters. And a lot of people, I think, they believe that if you have anxiety, if you're overstimulated, this is all in the head. It is not all in the head. It can be very, very physical, a very physical thing. And if you're eating unhealthy foods, this can cause havoc on the whole body. This includes the nervous system, and the nervous system includes the nerves and the brain. Then we have the adrenal glands and hormones and the gut. If any of these are out of whack, this can definitely cause issues for overstimulation. It can cause overstimulation, it can cause anxiety, it can cause depression, and other nerve, mental health related situation. So nutrition is really, important. And I do think that there is a difference, and I do want to really stress this. There is a difference between eating healthy and eating healthy for your body. This is something that I really found out about a little over a year ago, that you could eat healthy, but it's all the wrong foods for you. Or you can try to figure out what foods work best for your body. When it comes to like the nervous system and the nerves and the hormones, fat is so important. So we want to increase your fats, healthy fats. Make sure that you try to get as little trans fats as possible. But we want fats like with avocados, salmon, walnuts, chia seeds, any of this. And we also meat, fatty meats are going to be so important. And I think most of us know this by now, but just in case, um, there are some listeners that don't know this. Fat doesn't make you fat. It's more sugar and processed foods that are making people fat. So more fats, it just helps to really nourish and support the nervous system, the brain, the nerves. It really helps. I'm sure it helps with the adrenal glands too, in some way, but it also helps with hormones. Our hormones need fat. It's also really important for our gut. Our gut needs fat as well. And then I know I feel like I'm going to be the fun police here, but we want to limit our sugar, caffeine, and alcohol. Sugar, caffeine, and alcohol can definitely cause the nerves to go on end. So if you are consuming sugar, caffeine, or alcohol, this could probably make you feel even more stimulated. So I'm not telling you to not eat it, but not to eat these, not to consume these, but to try to limit it to it's where it's not so much. Sugar, normally I have no issue with sugar, but the average person is by far not consuming sugar in moderation. The average person is consuming, oh, I don't even know the number, but way, way over the recommendation for sugar. And even if you're like, oh, I don't like sweet stuff, you still might be consuming a lot of sugar because they hide sugar in everything. Even things that you wouldn't think that would have sugar has sugar in it. So if you have labels, or if you have foods that have labels, look at where it says added sugar. Added sugar is where our problem is. Total sugar is like whatever. I don't mind total sugars because total sugars usually will mean natural sugars, but it's that added sugar that we want to worry about. But not only that, even worse, something worse that can cause issues is artificial sugars. So anything that's artificial, look out for those. Um, my one of my biggest pet peeves, and if you do this, I apologize because I don't mean to call you out here, but I know some people that they're like, "Oh, I'm okay because I drink Coke Zero," or "I'm okay because I'm drinking a sugar-free Pepsi." To me, that's worse than the real thing. That's like Coke Zero is worse than regular Coke because they're taking the sugar out and they're putting something doubly bad, something worse in there. And then sugar-free Pepsi, they're taking the sugar out, but they're putting something worse in its place. And so watch out for sugar, watch out for um, added sugar. Natural sugar, in my opinion, is okay. Just and added sugar in moderation is okay too. But like I said, that average person is not consuming added sugar in moderation. Even like I said, even things that you wouldn't think that have sugar in them, look to see if they have sugar because you'd probably be surprised. All right, and like I said, caffeine, alcohol. Really quick on alcohol, I've had some people tell me that they need alcohol to sleep. Um, Alcohol to me, um, it may help you fall asleep, but it's not going to give you a restful sleep. So be really careful. We need sleep. We're going to be talking more about that in a little bit, but um, just try to limit your sugar, caffeine, and alcohol. You consume those, and you're going to have a really hard time. I should say this, if you consume enough sugar, caffeine, and alcohol, you're going to have a really hard time keeping or staying out of being overstimulated. Sorry, that was hard for me for some reason, but yeah, so it's going to be difficult to not be overstimulated. So sugar, caffeine, alcohol in moderation. Another thing that is really important is to make sure that you're getting plenty of vitamins and minerals. And even if you are taking a multivitamin, you still might be depleted in some vitamins and minerals. I'm not telling you to stop taking your multivitamin. I would still take it. But if you're overstimulated, I would go still get a vitamin and mineral deficiency test. This is something that I really wish when I had severe anxiety that they did. I wish my doctors would have done a full panel vitamin and mineral deficiency test because if you have deficiencies, this can definitely cause the body to be overstimulated. We need certain nutrients to give us that stable feeling. Like we need magnesium. Magnesium is nicknamed the relaxant mineral. And without magnesium, we could feel like a frazzled mess. Vitamin C. If we are stressed, we're depleting our vitamin C. But if we have enough vitamin C, this can actually cause our body to adapt to stress. It can help us handle stress. So vitamin C is really important. Vitamin D is super important because if we're deficient in vitamin D, we're probably also deficient in serotonin. We need serotonin for our mood. It helps with our mood. So, and then omega-3 fatty acid is super important for our brain. So, like I said, even if you're taking a multivitamin, I would still be really careful and check out, try to do a full panel. See if your doctor will do it. I heard that not all doctors will do it. And I also heard this part of the reason is because of insurance. If your doctor or insurance won't do a vitamin and mineral deficiency test, um, I would look on Amazon. So Amazon has vitamin and mineral deficiency tests, or I can share a link in the show notes that it's this test mainly tests for food sensitivities, but it also tests for vitamins and minerals. So you could do that, and I have found that it's pretty darn accurate and it's also cost effective, which I love. So I'll put that link in the show notes. So you can check that out. And you might be like, okay, but if I take a vitamin and mineral, how could I still be deficient? The reasoning for this is two. There's two reasonings for this. One is with all the junk that people are eating today, this causes a lot of inflammation in the body. And with all the inflammation in the body might not be absorbing vitamins and minerals properly. And it's going to be different for everybody. So one person may struggle with absorbing iron, or another person might be struggling with absorbing vitamin C. So it's really, I think, important to take a full panel vitamin and mineral test, even if you are deficient, and to also focus on really nourishing foods. That's something that I love to do is I love to focus on foods and herbs that are super nourishing. And this is just going to help with our nerves so we're not feeling um, so overstimulated. Oh, and then the other reason that we may have deficiencies, even if you guys are taking vitamin, mineral, a multivitamin, is because of medications. Some medications inhibit the absorption of certain vitamins and minerals. So that's something that we need to look out for. And then the other thing that with nutrition that we need to look out for is hydration. Hydration is super important for the body, and we want to make sure that you are consuming um, water or tea or electrolytes that have trace minerals in them. So I feel like a lot of people are consuming what we call dead water. So we're trying our best to be healthy and I don't know who you want to. I'm just going to call it they, and they are making it so hard. There are people out there making it so hard. So what happens is that I don't know who I want to say. I don't want to point fingers at like the people, but you know who I mean, the people. There are people out there that have damaged our water. We have all sorts of toxic yuckiness in our water. And because of this, now we have to filter our water. But the problem with filtering our water is normally in the past, our water had nutrients in it. It had trace minerals in it. And now, when we filter it, we're filtering out the trace minerals along with the toxic stuff. So we need to somehow bring the nutrients back into our water. So one of the things that I do is I consume spring water. So I buy spring water from a local company and I drink spring water. So that's a way to bring some trace minerals. I also consume some electrolytes. It's probably not the healthiest thing, but it's the best that I can do for where I'm at. So that's what we need to do with our health. We do the best that we can do. So trace minerals and then teas. Oh my goodness, especially nutritive. So herbs like nettle, oat straw, hawthorn, cleavers, chickweed. These are all herbs, burdock root. These are all herbs that are loaded with nutrients, nutritives. So I am going to put in nutritives in the show notes so you can um, I write myself a note so I don't forget. So you can put these, or so you can like do a Google search, which I hate Google. Don't rely too much on Google because Google likes to fear monger, and I don't want you to be fear mongered. But just to get a list of nutritives. So Google nutritives and these are all herbs that are rich in all sorts of vitamins and minerals, and these are going to fill in some of the gaps. And so, hydration is super important. If you're dehydrated, more than likely you are going to feel overstimulated. So, um, hydration is Super important. All right, let's go to number two. So we just talked about nutrition. Let's go to number two. One of the things that has helped me the most with feeling overstimulated is meditation. So meditation is so, so important. I think, and it's been a game changer for me. I wish that we have all been taught to meditate, and there are some misconceptions when it comes to meditation. So, one, I want to get this one out of the way. Someone recently told me that someone told them that meditating is evil. I don't think meditation is evil. I don't know where people would get that meditation is evil. Meditation is a guide to narrow your thoughts, to calm your thoughts, and I don't see how that is evil. There's so many different ways on meditating. I guess if you're trying to meditate and do voodoo at the same time, I guess that could be evil, but most people who meditate are not doing like voodoo magic or anything like that. So, and there are scientific backing uh, behind meditation. And some people say that they would rather pray. If you want to pray, that's fine. Totally pray. But I love meditating. And just a couple other um, misconceptions is people think that you have to have a blank mind, like you have to clear your mind. I don't. I meditate all the time, and my mind is so dang busy that I never clear my mind. I will do sometimes like affirmations. I will sometimes, and I know that some people might frown upon this, but this is something that really has helped me, is sometimes I will let my mind spiral. I'll give my mind permission, but I'm breathing. I'm breathing the way that I should be breathing, and I just let my mind spiral out of. Just let it do its thing and just let it kind of do like a brain dump. We do that during journaling, which we're going to talk more about in a moment. But why not do a brain dump meditation where we just let our mind just blah, just do its thing, get all that junk out of our head. So sometimes I let my mind spiral. Sometimes I do affirmations. Sometimes I try to think of calming thoughts. Sometimes I do visualizations. But I am one that I cannot clear my mind. So to me, meditation like almost makes my thoughts slow down. So instead of going like 90 miles per hour, it's now going like 40 miles per hour. Or sometimes I feel like I have 10 tabs up and it's able to make it go down to like two. So meditation, we do not have to clear our minds. If our mind wanders, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. It's called a meditation practice. Also, another misconception that I've heard is people say, "Oh, I can't meditate because my mind is too busy. My mind is too overactive." Um, I saw a quote once that says something along the line as saying that your mind is too overactive to meditate is like saying that um, is like saying that you're too dirty to take a shower. Meditation is for you. And so, and then another one is that people think that meditation is woo-woo. It can be if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be. You can have it be a very scientific, um, very, very, there are scientific backing that shows that meditation is amazing. And so I absolutely love this. I want to do a podcast episode sometime, maybe in the next few weeks. I want to do one all about meditation, all the um, misconceptions, and maybe also do herbs that are really good for meditation, and maybe put like a tea blend together for meditation. So you can have a tea while you're sipping for yoga or for meditating. So I was thinking that that would be so fun to do. All right, let's go to number three. So, number three is journaling. Journaling is so beneficial. I started doing this almost 2 years ago. I started religiously journaling, and it has been another game changer. I have learned so much about myself and have healed so much of my nervous system by journaling. And I struggled for years to get into journaling. And the reason that I struggled for years is because I kept journaling the way people told me to journal. And I finally was like, I need to journal my way. I need to figure out my way to journal. And my way, well, the way, let me tell you how I used to try to do it. So I always used to journal like people were going to read back, like people were going to read it. And I don't know why I'm always uncomfortable with that idea. Like, I don't want people to read. Like, journaling for me is more of a healing tool than it is for recording my life. It's more of a healing tool than recording. Now, if you want to record your life, I'm all for that, but I more want to use journal to heal my life. And so, and then I was also writing with pen. Everybody said to write with pen, and pens are really important because you should put what you want down in concrete. But I don't know why my mind, I know this sounds silly, but my mind does not like seeing pen on paper. I don't know why. I like pencil. So what I started doing is I started writing in my journal like nobody was going to read it. I wasn't even going to read back to it. And it was more of a healing tool. I wrote all my thoughts down on it, did lots of affirmations, and all of that. And it was that changed it. I wrote in pencil if I made a mistake, if I felt like I had to make it look prettier. That might be the Libra side in me. I would erase it and then rewrite it, or sometimes I'd be okay with just crossing it out. But I made journaling my own. And then when I finish a journal, I like to burn it. I like to burn my journal, and it's kind of symbolic to me. And I know this, a lot of people, they say that burning their journal makes them want to cry. But for me, it's kind of symbolic because it's like all of my thoughts, all of my tension is going off into infinity. It's going off into the universe, and not touching anything. Like it's going off and beyond. And it's just out in the universe, not touching anything, not bothering anything. And all my thoughts, all my tension, all my negativity is out there, instead of in my head or, in my house, if that makes sense. But that's how I do it. But I totally recommend for people to journal their way. Do you want people to read your journal? Do you not want people to read your journal? Do you want to record your life, or do you want it to be just a healing tool? Um, I don't think there's a wrong way. Do you want to use a pen? Do you want to use a pencil? Do you want to use markers? Do you want to use colored pencils? Do you want to do it in the morning? Do you want to do it in the evening? Do you want to do both? Do you want to? I don't know, just make it your own journal, make it your own. And oh my gosh, like I said, it has been a game changer. And I have done journal prompts. I have done brain dump, where I just write anything and everything that I need to just to get everything out on paper. I do affirmations. And again, affirmations can be woo-woo, and I love woo-woo stuff, but I mainly use affirmations to rewire my brain. That's why I use affirmations because I feel like our brains, they're so powerful. Our brains are so powerful, and our brains believe what we are telling it. And if you tell your brain over and over again, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired, guess what? You're gonna be tired. If you keep telling your brain, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, guess what? You're gonna be stressed. If you keep telling your brain, I'm overstimulated, I'm overstimulated, I'm overstimulated, guess what? You're gonna be overstimulated. But if we, and this takes time, because how long have you been telling your brain that you're stressed? How long have you been telling your brain that you're tired? How long have you been telling your brain that you're overstimulated or whatever? But when we flip it, it will take some time, but eventually your brain will start to believe you. So if you're like, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, guess what? Eventually you're going to be healthy. And this is stuff that I actually don't want you to lie to yourself about. Like I think you will know if you're lying, but pick things that are true. Like I've been telling myself a lot lately, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, because guess what? I'm safe, but sometimes my body doesn't feel like I'm safe. Gotten a lot better about that. Like I'm feeling pretty darn safe now, but I still like to keep maintenance on my body and my brain. So I still remind my brain all the time that I'm safe. I tell my body and my brain all the time, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, because guess what? I'm healthy. Um, so this is something, and then maybe start off with I'm healing, I'm healing. When if you're overstimulated, saying every day I'm becoming calmer and calmer. Every day I'm becoming calmer and calmer. So we want to, keep doing that until you can say, I am calm. I am calm. So I love affirmations and I love to see it in journals. So I love to tell myself this. Sometimes I'll tell myself these affirmations when I'm out and about, but I also like getting it on paper because seeing it on paper makes a difference as well. And so journaling and affirmations are so beneficial for really helping to with overstimulation to really get those nerves down. Oh, and another thing, when journaling, I love to write down 3 things every day that I am grateful for. So 3 things I'm grateful for because I feel like humans, we take things for granted. We forget that we actually have really amazing things and awesome things in our lives. And when we write down 3 things that we're grateful for, this could be really beneficial. And I try my hardest to make it different every day. So I'm not doing the same things over again. And I try to also to not always do the obvious things. So, like the obvious things are, a roof over our head, food in our refrigerators and our belly, your family, your friends. These are all fantastic, and I do put those in there every once in a while. But I try to get creative too. So sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm grateful for the foggy weather that we've been getting because it's so cozy. I'm grateful for the person that held the door open for me today. That was really nice of them. Or I am grateful for all the people that support my business. Or I got one. I am grateful for everybody that is listening in to this podcast episode. So, try to find something, and this will kind of make it to where every day you're looking for things to be grateful for. And I think that that really helps to calm the body down and keep it from getting too overstimulated. You still might get overstimulated, but it is gonna make it not so severe, if that makes sense. All right, number four. Number four, I think, is my favorite topic for this because not a lot of people think about this. But number four is my favorite um, thing to help from getting overstimulated, and that is be bored. Have you ever, or do you remember when we were little? Do you remember when we were kids, being bored was the worst thing ever? We're like, oh man, I'm bored, and it was torture. Now no one is bored. Today, nobody is bored. We have so many gadgets. And I think all these gadgets with screens, we have phones, laptops, tablets, we have computers, and we have all these screens that are flashing in our face and all these noise that are going in our ears from, headphones or earbuds or just speakers. And we have all this noise, all this lights flashing, and, just it's a lot. It's a lot. Have you ever heard that people get downloads? They say, I get downloads or the best ideas when I'm meditating or when I'm in the shower or when I'm driving. Do you know why that is? Do you know why people get the best ideas when they're in the showers, when they're driving, when they're meditating? It's because you're giving your brain a break. You're giving your brain a break and you're allowing your brain to actually think. Um, Boredom is, I think, really important for our brains to really just to be like, I don't have this flashing light in my face or this loud noise in my ears. Your brain just gets to relax. And so being bored, this is why I love meditation, because meditation is kind of us purposely being bored, right? It's purposely us being bored, is giving our brain a break. And all these screens just in our face. And so take a break from screens. I think it's really important to give yourself at least at a minimum an hour away from screen time um, a day. And then what I like to do is every once in a while, I like to take a week off of no social media. So I'm like, no social media for a week, and it is amazing. Like, and it will show you when you do, like, if you do a 1 week social media detox, it will show you how addicted you are to your phone. Like you'll keep grabbing your phone, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. And you'll grab it again, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. But taking a break from screen time is so beneficial for the brain. And in my opinion, I think the number one cause for overstimulation is all our gadgets. I think all of our gadgets, all the screens in our face, all the noises that um, our gadgets are making is just causing so much overstimulation. And then how many people doom scroll? When you doom scroll, you're not really paying attention to what you're doom scrolling, but you still have all these lights flashing in your face. You have all this noise in your ears. So limit screen time. And this is going to be so helpful. Pick a time every day and be like, you know what? 1 hour a day, I'm going to be bored. I'm going to be bored. I'm going to let my mind just do its thing. And maybe you can like cook. You can maybe cook in silence or put soft music on, or you can knit or crochet. Um, but try not to like have the TV on. Just let your brain just do its thing or go for a drive. I love going for drives. Try to go for a drive out in the middle of nowhere if you can, because sometimes city driving is not going to help with that overstimulation. But find something that can calm your mind and allow yourself to be kind of bored. I think boredom is actually really good medicine that a lot of people take for granted. And that, like I said, I remember when I was a kid, being bored was like the worst thing ever. And now I'm trying to find ways to be bored. Um, trying to just shut my mind off. I think that's one of the reasons I love hiking too, is because when I'm hiking, I'm also going kind of like in a meditative state. So I'm just allowing my mind to rest while I am hiking. And it's just wonderful. While also taking in all the beautiful, beautiful views. Another thing that I do on the same line, um, it's not completely being bored, but I'm gonna stick it under here anyways, is news. I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news in probably 15 years. I decided, maybe that's a little bit longer. I would say about 12, 13 years. 12, 13 years, I stopped watching the news because it kind of well, let me try to say it this way. There's someone that I'm very, very close to in my life who is all about the news. They watch the news religiously, and they are one of the most paranoid people that I know. Not to talk bad about people, but they are super paranoid. And I know I can get that way too. I can get very, very paranoid. And I think watching the news can actually cause overstimulation. You're on nerve because what's going to happen. And so I haven't watched the news in a very, very long time. And if I need to know something important, someone will let me know. And that has been the case. People have let me know when there have been big things that have happened that I need to know. But I think in all honesty, I think that watching the news religiously can be depressing. It could cause fear. It's fear mongering. Also, I don't completely trust the news. I think the news takes a lot of things out of context and it causes a lot of issues um, in today's world. Um, I think in all honesty, the news causes more harm than good. So I don't watch the news. And like I said, if I need to know something, someone will tell me about it. But yeah, be bored, limit screen time, limit news, either limit news or stop news. Um, I almost feel like if you're overstimulated, the news is not going to help you. I think people who don't get anxious or people who don't get overstimulated, they can watch the news. So I'm like, those people that don't get anxious or overstimulated or paranoid, they can watch the news and let me know. So, but be bored, and you will get the best ideas. Like the best ideas will come to your head. This will bring creativity. Um, Boredom is really good medicine that not a lot of people talk about. So, yeah. All right. Number five is one of my favorites too. One of my favorites is go out in nature. So many people are becoming disconnected with nature, but nature, oh my gosh, it is amazing. I love nature. I've always been drawn to nature. But when you're out in nature, most of us don't bring speakers. So, I love to go out in nature and just listen to nature. When I'm out hiking, I never turn my music on ever. And I'm listening partly because I want to keep myself safe. Like I'm listening out for animals, listening out for people, but it's also just calming. It's very, very calming to be out in nature and just listen to the birds, listen to the squirrels jump around. They're loud though. They're kind of freaky sometimes. Listen to the breeze, listen to any water that's around, listen to the dirt underneath our boots. I usually will take my dogs with me, so listening to the dogs panting. And a lot of times I just get lost in my own head and I love it. I love it. And then this is a really good time to really ground yourself. If you're like me, I live in a place where it's really difficult to go barefoot because all of our hiking trails have like really sharp rocks. And so, and I think I have tough feet too. I think I have pretty tough feet, but those sharp rocks. Ouch. So I don't really go barefoot at all. I do have, my husband calls them combat sandals. So they're like hiking sandals, but I wear those sometimes, but most of the time I'm wearing boots and most of the time I won't take my boots off. But if you're braver than I am, and maybe if you don't have as many sharp rocks where you are, you could try grounding, put your feet on the ground in nature. But another way that I ground is I love to like gently touch trees. I love to touch trees and almost like I feel like I'm exchanging energy with them. Like I'm giving them loving, positive energy. I know this sounds woo-woo, but I love it. So I feel like I am giving it loving, positive energy back or to it, and it's giving it right back to me. And we're just kind of like exchanging loving, positive energy with each other. And there is, you can, there is scientific backing behind grounding with trees and nature. You know, mostly it's done with feet on the ground, but there you can ground with your hand on trees as well. So grounding is so amazing to really just kind of bring us down, bring us into like presence, you know, bring us down um, from, oh, I have a thought in my head that I'm not able to get out. Um, I feel like everybody's usually up in their head. So everybody's like up in their head. And when you ground, it just brings you down where you're not up in your head anymore, if that makes sense. But it also just brings you kind of in present mode. And this really helps with being overstimulated. So the noise, the grounding, the views are super beautiful. All of this can help us get out of that overstimulating mode. And so that is a great way to get out of that overstimulation. All right, number six, breathing. This kind of goes with meditation, but sometimes when I'm out and about and I don't have time to meditate, I will do some breathing exercises. And I don't go really strict with it. Um, I don't usually count. I usually use my intuition and try to figure out what my body needs. But always try to pretend that you're filling your belly. So some people say Santa bellies. I like to say Buddha belly, even though Buddha didn't have a big belly, but I still say Buddha belly. I think it was a different um, guy that we talk about. But anyways, so you breathe in slow and deep, and you pretend that you're filling your belly. So you fill your belly, and then you exhale, and you try to empty your lungs as much as possible. And this is really good for the amygdala in our brain. So when we're breathing fast and shallow, this sends a signal to our amygdala saying we're in danger, 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 danger. And so you feel like you're in danger even when you're not in danger. But when you start to breathe slow and deep and in the belly, this sends a signal to our amygdala, oh, all is good, we're safe, we're good. And also when I breathe deep, I also because I hold tension in my shoulders, neck, and jaw. So when I breathe deep, I also try to wiggle my shoulders some and kind of do a little shoulder wiggle to loosen everything up in there, and that helps a lot. So breathing is a fantastic way of um, getting out of overstimulation mode. And just in case you ever, and this is more panic than overstimulation, but we're going to talk about it anyways because I just think it's important. But if you're ever feeling like you can't breathe, you're like, oh my gosh, you can't breathe. Most of the time, that is because your lungs are already filled with air and you're trying to fill more air with them. So if you're ever feeling like, I can't breathe, try exhaling first. So, and then inhale. And I've taught myself this to where now, anytime that I'm stressed, the first thing I do is exhale before I inhale. So that's a little tip that I do, and I taught myself. So it's almost automatic now. Anytime I'm stressed, anytime I'm a little anxious, I exhale first. And sometimes my husband thinks I'm huffing. Sometimes he's like, "What? What happened?" I'm like, "No, I'm just breathing. I'm just breathing. I'm not huffing." Um, and so you might side effect on exhaling. You might get told that you are huffing or get blamed for huffing when you're actually just trying to regulate your nervous system real quick. Um, so. Yeah. All right. So number seven is sleep. Oh my gosh, we need sleep. Sleep is so, so important. I have so many people come to me and they're like, yeah, I average like 4 to 5 hours of sleep. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you function? How do you function? And I will say, I do think that there are some people out there that may be able to function on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. But if you're suffering from any like health issues or being overstimulated, I don't think you're one of those people. So sleep is super important. Our bodies heal when we're sleeping. It restores itself when we're sleeping. And I have to tell you, I sleep like a baby. I shouldn't. I shouldn't sleep like a baby. I love that I do, though. But genetically, I have all sorts of people that have insomnia in my family. And I'm also going through perimenopause. So, and most women going through perimenopause have insomnia issues, but I sleep so well, so, so well. Um, and I have to tell you, the thing that works best for me, I swear, the better I eat for my body, the better sleep I get. It's nutrition. Like nutrition is my is like the one thing that I can say that has really, really helped with my sleep. The better I eat, the better I sleep. Um, so it's amazing. But another thing that I do that I think helps a lot is I try to work with my circadian rhythm as well. So what I do is I normally will wake up before the sun gets up. Before the sun rises. And we're all different, but for me, I'm not a morning person. Because I'm not a morning person, I allow myself time to wake up slowly and get out of bed slowly. And I have dimmer lights. So I have lights that you can make darker or lighter. And so when I wake up, I first set my lights really, really low. And then gradually throughout the morning, I raise the lights a little bit more and more. My blinds and curtains are always closed in the morning. And then I start slowly opening up my blinds and curtains so the light can start coming into my house slowly and not abruptly. So it's like a slow process. And then I like my house to be pretty bright. So throughout the day, my house is pretty bright. Um, and then at night, I start to do everything in reverse. So as the sun rises, I start to lower my light more and more, and I start closing blinds and closing curtains. And um, my lights go down and down more and more and more until I'm about ready to go to bed. My lights are almost off. Another thing, I know this might sound silly, but this has been a game changer for me, is I in both of my bathrooms, so I have two bathrooms in the house that I live in, I put little lamps in there. So I have little lamps and they don't have a high wattage light bulb, and I have it like a cozy, warm light bulb that are in them. And I also do the same thing for my kitchen. I have a lamp in my kitchen as well. And so at night, I have a little lamp in my kitchen. And if I have to go into my kitchen at night, I turn that little lamp on instead of the bright lights. At night, if I have to, or in the morning or at night, if I have to go into the bathroom, I um, turn my lamps on and not the overhead light. And it's just so calming, so cozy. And this doesn't really have to do with circadian rhythm, but one of my favorite things too is to when I take a shower is to have the lamp on. And it is a little it's darker, but it's cozy and more relaxing. So I have like this really relaxing shower, if that makes sense, because the light is not so harsh. And so, but there were times like a year ago where I would start to turn all the lights down and all of that, but I didn't have the lamp in my bathroom. And then I'm going to bed and I go to brush my teeth and I turn that really bright light on. I'm like, oh my goodness, wow. So the lamps have been a game changer in the bathrooms and in the kitchen. So I'm not blinding myself at night and I'm still like working with my circadian rhythm. So I love it. So, nutrition and circadian rhythm. Um, have I done a podcast episode yet on sleep? I can't remember if I have or not. I'm going to look into that. Um, I talk about sleep all the time, like in TikTok lives, that I can't remember if I did one. If I didn't do a podcast episode yet on sleep, maybe I'll work on that in the next few weeks as well. All right, number 8 for our list here is have a clean environment. And I don't mean clean by if you're messy. I really don't care if you're messy. I have the lived in look here, but more I'm talking about be clean of chemicals. Chemicals can make us overstimulated as well. Toxic chemicals, I should say. So toxic chemicals. So, look at what you're cleaning with, your cosmetics, your perfumes. Are they loaded with toxic chemicals? Um, Smells can definitely make us overstimulated. I know it makes me overstimulated. So, like the really heavy chemically uh, perfumed, like cleaning products, oh, no, thank you. Overstimulation for me. So, I always try to get cleaning products. And you have to be careful though, because some of the stuff out there is what we call greenwashing. So greenwashing is products that like to come off as they're clean of toxic chemicals, but they're actually not. So you got to do a lot of research on that. But um, try to, um, have as much clean cleaning products, but also cosmetics like perfumes. In my opinion, like most of the perfumes out there are loaded with toxic chemicals. I won't touch them one bit. And cosmetics, what are you putting on your body? Is this going to be good for your body? So yeah. All right. Um, Number 9 is temperature regulation. I think it's really important that we get our bodies at the right temperature. For example, I run really cold, and if I am cold, I feel really overstimulated. I do not like being cold. So I do everything I can to keep myself warm. Warm clothes, I drink warm broths. Oh, I am. I know it sounds silly, but I am miserable if my ears are cold. So I go out in hats all the time. I wear hats to keep my ears warm. I drink bone broth a lot. I have a heating pad. I know a lot of people think of heating pads for, when you're hurt, but I use heating pads all the time in the winter because my core gets really cold, excuse me, really, really easily. So my core gets really cold. And so I try to warm my core up. And I actually have a heating pad in my lap right now as I'm talking. But I try to keep myself as warm as possible because I know that this is what my body needs. But maybe you're the complete opposite. Maybe you run really hot. So if you run really hot, then you want to find ways to keep yourself cool so you're not so hot. So temperature regulation is so, so important. All right, number 10. Number 10 is stress management. I talk about this a lot, stress management. I want to do another podcast episode on stress management someday, but I always like to, when I'm doing these podcasts, I like to bring herbs in, and I'm trying to figure out how to bring herbs in to stress management. I'll have to keep thinking on that. But stress management is so, so important. A lot of people think that stress management or self-care, I feel like stress management and self-care are just so closely related that we could talk about them at the same time. But stress management and self-care, a lot of people think it's selfish, but it's not. It's not selfish whatsoever. It's a necessity. It's needed. We need stress management. I wish that in school people taught their kids stress management, but they don't. If you're listening to this and you homeschool your kids, please teach them stress management. So people need to know that you're going to have stress your whole life. There are going to be times where you're going to have ebbs and flows. Nobody can escape stress, no matter how rich, how poor, no matter if you're a man, a woman, no matter what age you are, you're always going to have stress. Um, it's always going to be there. Sometimes are going to be more stressful than others, but we need to learn how to handle stress. We need to know how to manage stress. And a lot of what we do on how to handle and manage stress has a lot to do with self-care. So a lot of self-care stuff is how we do stress management, and I think that that is really, really important. I really want to do an episode one of these days on stress management. Let me know if this is something that you guys want to hear. If you want to learn more about stress management, I just don't know how to incorporate herbs into stress management, but I think it's a really important topic because if you're not, or if you're stressed, you're going to be frazzled, you're going to be sick, you're going to be snappy, you're going to be irritable, you're not going to be able to function. You might get depression or anxiety. It's going to cause some mental struggles. And so it's really, really important. So we need to know how to be able to handle stress. And this is a whole other, like, um, this would take a long time to talk about stress management. So yeah. All right, and let's go to 11. So 11, this is our last tip, and that is to use herbs. As much as I love herbs, you can't just do herbs and forget the rest. You need to incorporate some of the other stuff that we talked about. But herbs are so beneficial for helping with an overstimulated nervous system. So if your nervous system's overstimulated, let's try some herbs. My favorite herb for the nervous system is oat straw. Love oat straw. Oat straw is both nourishing and a nervine, so it helps to bring nourishment into the body. It's loaded with Bs. So it has B vitamins. It unfortunately does not have B12, but it has a lot of the other Bs. And it's just really nourishing, supporting, and strengthening to the nervous system. It really helps to restore the nervous system. So I always like to recommend oat straw for people who've had a lot of anxiety, a lot of trauma in their life. And so oat straw is really beneficial for that. Um, what else? It is an herb that you do have to take consistently for you to the really get what oat straw is there for. So consistently is the best way to take oat straw. And then we have chamomile. Chamomile is so beneficial. It's super calming for the body. It's also antispasmodic, so it helps to release either spasming muscles or constricted muscles. So it helps with tense muscles. We have catnip. So catnip is not only for cats. Um, I think a lot of people have a hard time with catnip because we're like, I'm not a cat. But catnip is so beneficial. It really helps. With the nervous system is very calming. One of the things that I love about catnip is a lot of herbs that are really good for the nervous system are very cooling. They're very cooling herbs where catnip is actually warming. So catnip is actually a herb that I need to use more often than I do because it has those warming properties to it. It's also really good for the digestive system. So this can help with if you have a stressed or an anxious tummy, lemon balm, or not lemon balm, catnip can help with that. So, yeah. All right, next herb is lemon balm. So, lemon balm comes from the mint family and it looks almost identical to peppermint, but it tastes like lemons. And lemon balm is good for the nervous system. It's calming to the nervous system, but it's also uplifting. It helps to uplift mood. It is really good for the cardiovascular system and the digestive system. So, and do you know how many people have contacted me that have said that I have I have taken lemon balm and it helped me so much with my nervous system. It helped me heal my nervous system. And that is amazing because lemon balm is what we consider to be a very gentle herb. And most people think of gentle herbs, think, oh, it won't help. Well, lemon balm did. So I absolutely love that. Now, lemon balm, if you have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, you can't take lemon balm because it does conflict with that. All right, next herb is linden. Linden is also really good for the nervous system. It's really calming. It's really good for grief. So if you have any grief, or maybe if you're just in this very emotional state, lemon balm can help with that too. I hope I said Linden. I meant Linden. I don't know if I said lemon balm. I have lemon balm on the brain today, so I don't know if I said lemon balm or Linden, but either way, I mean Linden. And then our next herb is rose. So rose is very calming. It's one of those that doesn't go a long way, so you only need a little, or so a little bit goes a long way, so you don't need a lot of rose. But it's very, very calming. And I think just also the smell of it, the smell is just very, very calming. So absolutely love rose. I'm going to talk about the next two herbs together, and that's skullcap and passion flower. So, skullcap and passion flower are both herbs that really help to nourish, support, strengthen the nervous system. They're also fantastic for overactive minds, overthinking minds. So, if your mind is just like spiraling, skullcap and passion flower may be able to help with this. They may make you sleepy, so keep that in mind. And then our last herb is nettle. So, nettle is not technically a nervine, but one of the things that I love about nettle is it brings all sorts of nutrients into our body. So it really, if we're having overstimulation because of a deficiency, nettle may be able to fill in some of those gaps. Or burdock root. I should have added burdock root because burdock root could do the same thing. So those are some of the herbs. I do have a podcast episode that I did not too long ago, where I talked more in the details on the herbs and what they do. So you can go check that episode out. So, but yeah. Um, this is how I would help with overstimulation. So, if you have an overstimulated nervous system, I would look into nutrition, meditate, journal, be bored, go out in nature, breathe, sleep, look at your environment. Is it loaded with all sorts of toxic chemicals? Make sure that you're comfortable temperature-wise, stress management, and then some herbs. So, so I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I'm about ready to hop off this episode and I'm going to record our bonus podcast episode for our membership. And I'm going to be talking about why you still may be tired, even though you're doing everything right. So we're going to be talking all about that in that episode. And so yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know if you have any questions on anything that we talked about, anything that you want me to talk more about. I would be more than happy to. And again, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a fantastic day. All right, guys. Bye. I hope you loved this episode. If you did, please make sure to follow Wild Yarrow Apothecaries Podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave me a review. Do you want to hear more about this episode? Join our Herb of the Month membership where I add a bonus part of this episode. In this membership, we also have a lot of PDF files, a lot of videos, and every 3 months that you are a member, I send you 3 herbs, and there's so many more benefits. Come check it out. Come nerd out with us. And thank you for listening to the Wild Yarrow Apothecaries podcast and have a great day.